The curtains close on the Premier League season. Welcome back to the final episode, the final recap of this season's Premier League. And I am joined by my fellow co-host, the champion mate, Scott the Gooner, Rob the Happy Red Devil, and RJ the sometimes balanced blue. Boys, we made it to the end of the season. How you feeling, Robbie? I'll go to you first, mate.
Yeah, look, pretty happy. I'm a bit sad already, mate. We go through the whole season now. When
You're already sad, Rob.
I am, mate. I get football withdrawals, mate. I've already started thinking, oh no, how long is it till August? Like the 12th of August. I already looked up today. I'm like, when's the opening day of the season? 12th of August. Bloody miles away, but I don't know. I guess we'll catch up on some sleep, mate. But I always love my football, so I'm gonna miss it.
I wish I could say the same thing, but we'll get to me in a moment because everybody wants to hear from you, Scott. 5-0, 5-star thrashing of Wolves. You must be feeling a little bit happier based on the last few weeks.
Look, it doesn't change my rating from last week. What did I say, boys? 6? Was it 6? 6.5.
I think it was something.
Because we went higher. We went higher. You went 6.5. I know. Me and RJ went 7.5.
Changes nothing for me. Yep, it was nice to bang 5 goals, but those 5 goals would have been nice against West Ham or Southampton or Liverpool at Anfield. Still a 6 for me. Still disappointed. What could have been, boys? It's ultimately a season that promised a lot for me, but one that's going to leave me with a few memories, I think. But what about you, RJ?
Yeah, I think you've been a bit hard on bottle jobs and all. I mean, Arsenal, I think they did pretty good to get to where they did. As a proud Manchester City fan, I've got nothing but praise for us. No,
the balance, Scott.
Robbie, exactly. Robbie said he's a bit depressed about football being over. I've got to be honest. I've been checked out for months. It's just been crazy. Like the season that was, it's like a big WTF. I don't know what happened. I've still been getting up every morning and I question myself. I look up and say, why am I doing this when I know exactly what's going to happen every game this season? It's been absolute tragic stations. But you know what? These are the kinds of seasons you need every now and then just to put things into perspective because you can't win them all the time, as I say to my 7-year-old. So crazy season, lots of crazy results. So let's not muck around too much and get straight into it because it's a wild final round of the Premier League.
Absolutely. Speaking of wild, we got Shano in the chat. Sad to see the season end, but his body clock's done, mate. It's shot. I think a lot of us are older fellas because we're middle-aged, good-looking blokes on this channel. A lot of the audience are too. I think they're all probably feeling the same way. Now watch, the kids will start waking up early to screw us over. Justin's here. Good evening, Justin. Emad in the house. George, back live. Nice to see you, George. And that picture's looking handsome.
What a photo.
Tell you what, if I had a daughter that was George's age, I'd be trying to arrange a marriage there. Scott's last ever podcast. There you go. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds? Dieter's here. Good evening, Dieter. Tom talking smack, flaunting that Carabao Cup. Chest out. Love it. Make sure you check Tom out in the United Pubcast and Emad out as well on Man Cave United here and there. Boys, we talked about who we thought was going down. Poor Davide. I'm not sure he's been as active with us this season, but my heart goes out to Davide. Leeds, gone. Robbie's spewing. RJ's heart's bleeding too. But in all seriousness, boys, no matter who had gone down, it was going to be a bigger team. When I say bigger, I mean bigger than the teams that are normally relegated. Everton have been around forever. You had Leicester, won the league not so long ago, won an FA Cup, a nice-looking squad on paper, and then you had Leeds. They came up. They were the media darlings. Had a really good start under Bielsa, and then the wheels have fallen off, and ultimately the wheels have fallen off completely for them in Leicester. Leicester gone. There's going to be a bit of a fire sale there. We'll talk about that. And Leeds gone too. Everton lucky. What did you make of the scenes, boys, at Everton? The charging the pitch.
Embarrassing, mate.
It was a big party, Rob.
I tweeted it out for when it was happening. I said, Fair enough. I kind of understood a little bit last year, but back-to-back seasons, these guys are celebrating flares, run pitch invasions in the last day of the season because they're literally 45 minutes away from relegation. Which, in the end, I was like, when they put 10 minutes up on that board of stoppage time, I was kind of hoping Bournemouth were going to just score a goal. It would have been funny, I think, if they got relegated. But I don't know. I think that's a club of their stature that's really small club mentality at the moment, man. Like, if they went down, they really would have been in big trouble, man, with the new stadium coming, the money they've spent, the players they've got. So again, mate, I don't know if I'd be celebrating as much as them. I'd be telling my players and coaching staff and everyone to be pulling their head in, and because a club of Everton stature should be at least mid-table, pushing for a 7th place or something. When you look at the clubs like Brentford and Brighton and what they've done in previous seasons, like Everton have just been shambles as of late.
Yeah, look,
fair enough.
I suppose I get what you're saying. I suppose if I'm coming from a fan's perspective, emotions are flying. They were so close to the perilous drop, and you know what it's like. It's not automatic guarantee you're going to come back up. The championship's an absolute dogfight, and we've seen congratulations to obviously the few teams that got promoted, and we'll talk about that shortly. But I agree with what you're saying. They should be aiming for much higher than where they finished back-to-back seasons. I actually think what's worse for someone like Everton is that this kind of near-death experience for them, the near-drop zone, it papers over the cracks. Yes. Because it's almost like you kind of need to hit the reset button. You need to have the drop to affect some real change, because now they've survived. People will forget about this, and they'll do the same thing over again until they get some proper change coming in the ranks. But see, I think Leicester now going through this experience will actually be better for it, to be honest. But Everton, I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, I do think, like you said, Rob, they've probably overdone it. And as a club, I don't think they're going to go forward anytime soon.
Leicester have to get back up, though, and we know it's not so easy to get out of the championship, as we've seen over the years with plenty of teams that went down. We thought, yeah, they've got plenty of quality, they'll be back up, and hasn't always been the case. But boys, let's look at Leeds and Leicester. Obviously, both down. We know all of our clubs are always looking to do a deal. Might be a fire sale happening. I think I butchered that twice. Is there anyone from those teams that you would really like to see your club make a play at? For me, I think Maddison would be an excellent addition to our squad, and I think he's someone who will go. From there, Leeds don't really tickle my fancy too much. There's no one there who I think could be a brilliant addition to the squad, but bring me Maddison, Tielemans. You know what? I'd even take Harry Suter if we could get him cheap, but I think Harry will stay. What about you, RJ? We know Chelsea are always looking for some business. Who are you signing on the name contract?
Yeah, exactly. We only think long-term. We don't worry about anything in the meantime. Yeah. I actually, some of those players you mentioned, but also sneakily think that someone like a Harvey Barnes, he's an exciting prospect.
Harvey Barnes is our rating.
Yeah. He deserves better. Even at James Justin, I thought he was quite a good player for Leicester before his injury, of course. From a Leeds point of view, obviously the Italian youngster, Gnonto, I thought he's a top little player to watch. And I suppose if I was looking for an attacking reinforcement, I don't mind someone like a Jack Harrison as well to come and add a little bit of flair to the squad. So, but apart from that, yeah, they're the players I'd target, Scott.
Robbie?
Yeah, look, I think you guys, the big ones are done. Obviously, from the Saints, I think Lavia, I think everyone would love to get their hands on him.
For sure.
Nyoto's young talent. Again, we've got a lot of wingers, so he wouldn't be a preference. But yeah, look, you already said, I think Harvey Barnes, you know what? If this was this time last season, I was screaming for Yuli Tielemans. But if I had the opportunity now, I think I'd actually don't want him, to be honest. I'd rather have someone like a Harvey Barnes. Madison, 100%. But at Tielemans, I don't know. I just think he's had a bit of a drop off. Actually, I know the whole.
Would you take a Ward-Prowse, boys? Would you be interested?
No, for me.
I'd sub him on for an important free kick and then sub him back off. There's 5 subs now.
That's it, but that's it.
Look, I think not every player needs to be your razzle-dazzle superstar who's going to win you the game by themselves. Like someone like a Ward-Prowse could come in and just plug a hole when there's an injury. Like I would put him on our pecking order. Say we sign Ward-Prowse. I put him above Mo Elneny and Sambi Lakonga. That's for sure. But I don't start him over Thomas Partey. I don't start him over Granit Xhaka, who may be going. We don't know. I don't start him over Jorginho. But I probably have him sitting just beneath Jorginho in there. So, if the price is right, he's also English. So for the quota, that helps. I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't lose sleep over James Ward-Prowse. But, boys, some people who are losing sleep are fans of the newly promoted teams. Obviously, none of us have watched much championship football, if any, this season. So I don't know a whole heap about Burnley, Sheffield and Luton. But I am excited to see Luton Town come up. Small. They've come from non-league football to the Premier League. What a story. It's something I do in Football Manager. And their stadium. Have you seen the pictures of the stadium, boys?
The backyard crew?
The backyard crew. It's
Mate,
crazy.
we may as well play at Marconi.
I think Marconi is bigger. I think Marconi is
Who
bigger.
knows?
But it is a good news story, isn't it? Like, it's just nice,
It is.
culturally speaking, to see a club of relatively smaller stature coming up against, like, our clubs that are big names and got the high profile. It's nice to see some of the smaller guys, because I think it's human nature, isn't it? You like to see the David versus Goliath. So, interestingly, like Leicester, when they won the Premier League, they achieved the underdog story. So seeing a club of Luton's relatively small stature come and rise up to the Premier League, it just adds to that fairy tale about why the Premier League is so universally attractive.
Spot on. Nice to see Butch in the chat as well. United third, light work. Run the clips back, boys. I actually was going to watch that today if I'd got time. I just didn't get the time. I would have loved to have known what all our predictions were. I think, Robbie, you and I tipped Liverpool, so we were way off.
We did.
This as well from Borch, calling me for Manager of the Year. I did win the Football Capital FPL Cup. I thought I'd lost it, but no, won it, and that's representing all the IFT boys. That was a fun season, guys. I know you both dropped off a bit, but man...
Yeah, but I got Manager of the Season in real life, Scott. I'm the only one who's an undefeated manager for Chelsea against Liverpool in my one-game tenure. No, people just keep forgetting this stuff, mate. Exactly.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. Look, let's talk about United, because obviously we gave our seasons, RJ, a numerical rating out of 10. We did that last week because our seasons are pretty much defined. Robbie, let's talk about your team, Manchester United. Remember, we're rating the season. Mm-hmm. Give me 2 ratings. One, if you manage to win, let's say you win the FA Cup 1-0 after extra time. Fred scores your winner, right? And then give me one, assuming, which I think we can probably all say we'd predict you won't win that final, RJ and I anyway. But give us a score rating if you win the FA Cup and one if you don't. Or if it's the same for you, explain why.
Look, I'll go without the FA Cup first. So just as we are as of right now, I think it's going to be somewhere in between 7.5 and 8, if I'm being honest. Like I said, you know me, if you go back and rewind from the start of the season, I predicted us to not even maybe get Europa League. I think it was 6th or 7th, and I really thought then I didn't expect a lot of teams to drop off. Your Liverpools, your Chelseas, for instance, I didn't expect Newcastle to be there, kind of thing. And yeah, like at that point of the season, you know, we had to make, like, there was no Casemiro signing, there was no Antony signing back then. You know, and then 2 weeks into the season, we were bottom of the barrel, considered about 12 goals, coming last, no goals scored, 0 points. So it was looking pretty dire after the first 2 weeks. But look, since then, Ten Hag has done an amazing job. For starters, I'll start with our home record, undefeated since September. We've conceded 9 goals at home. I think out of 28 games, we've won 24 and had 4 draws since that loss on the opening day. So he's really made Old Trafford a fortress. Mate, the stats are there for you. The 3rd best team in the Premier League this season. And I think that's the main thing right there. Our away record hasn't been great. That's something we definitely got to touch on. But in the first season, in a transition season, for someone who's come from another league to the hardest league in the world, I think he's done great, mate. All the situation with Ronaldo, how he's had the Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire situation with the captaincy. Every little thing he's done, he's made the decision right 90% of the time. So A cup was also a bonus. We've made deep runs in all cup competitions. Obviously, got knocked out of Europa League at the semi-final. We've obviously got the weekend FA Cup, which could make it a great season. I'll get to that soon. So for me, there's a massive positive. There's a lot of faith in him. I really hope the board get their ass in the gear and back him, because I can see us going even further next season. So for me, it's got to be a solid 7.5, 8 as of now. If we get a domestic double and win the FA Cup, mate, it's got to be a 9.5 in his first season for me. Obviously, a 10, you'd have to say, the Premier League and all that. But again, we're calculating this about last season was our worst ever Premier League season in points wise, and we've seen how shocking we went for 2-3 managers in the season. So where we were and where we are, that's how I'm rating it. And I'm going to have to go, as of now, I'm going to go close to an 8 and obviously a 9 if we get a domestic double and beat City in the final.
All right. No, there's a lot of Manchester United fans in the chat at the moment. Not all chats can be perfect. Let us know your score rating as well. Out of 10, do you agree with Robbie? Are you higher, lower? RJ, let's ask a neutral. We'll call you neutral loosely. How do you rate Manchester United season out of 10?
Yeah, Rob, spot on. I think if you set the criteria as compared to last season, they've gone leaps and bounds. Like, they've won a trophy, top 3, a lot of competition, and it's the style of football they've been playing through large parts of the season. They bounced back from a shaky start. I suppose if we're being a little bit critical, they made some runs, but they got knocked out in Europa when they should have done better, arguably. I would say they were the more favoured team. It was a disappointing exit, 7-0 thrashing against Liverpool. One-off game, but that's a main rival. That stings. People remember that stuff. But I think overall, if I was a United fan, and even not as a United fan, if I'm just a football fan, I've been suitably impressed with just how much of a collective resilience and identity I'm seeing with United for the most part. You read out their stats from the home point of view. They've really strengthened up in the positions that matter, especially if players like Casemiro stepping up and filling in an important role, Rashford rediscovering himself. So I'm just thinking overall, I would agree 7.5 to 8, I'd say. And if they can go and beat Manchester City, a domestic double, mate, that's an incredible effort. So I'm really keen to see if the whole second year syndrome hits Ten Hag, because now he's set a pretty high benchmark for himself. If the board don't back him, like you said, Rob, there's a very strong chance that the other teams around Manchester United pick up their game, and all of a sudden, top 3 becomes a battle for top 6. So it's going to be really intriguing to see what they do next season.
Agree.
I want to ask you then, because we've skipped around the FA Cup a little bit. We're not going to deep dive on this FA Cup final. Yeah, let's just very quickly, and I'll give my rating in a sec. What do you think's going to happen in this final? Give us a quick fire prediction. Robbie, obviously, if you want to elaborate a bit more, go for it, mate. But I don't see anything other than a Manchester City win. I think Manchester City have peaked at the right time this season. And when Manchester City have peaked, they've really peaked. They've been able to rest some players. They are going to be thinking about 2 big finals, which may help Manchester United. But I just think they're too good, too professional for Manchester United to win it right now. I certainly think Manchester United are on the right trajectory, but I think this is just a little bit too soon. It is a cup final. Anything can happen, but I think Manchester City will take this one. In regular time, I'm going 2-1. RJ?
Definitely Manchester's going to win it either way. Manchester for sure. But if I have to prick one, which I do, I agree with the outcome. I think City hit their stride at the right time. United, yes, will be pumped up for it and have nothing to lose because they're the underdogs, despite being a bigger club overall. I think City, unless they get some late injury setbacks or whatever, I think the only thing that's going to get in their way is Pep doing the classic overthink, and also them getting that one eye on the Champions League because they know it's so close to them. Do they psychologically treat this performance any differently? Do they play to a lesser intensity because of fear of injury, of missing the Champions League? So, if anything, that gives Manchester United a glimmer of hope. But I think you said 2-1. I actually think it could. I think it could actually be a bigger scoreline to City, particularly if they come out firing early. So I think Manchester United, if they're any chance of winning this, really have to keep it tight for the first 20, 25 minutes, because if not, I could see City getting this comfortably, unfortunately. So I do think they end up taking this one 3-1.
All right, Robbie, before I give my rating for your season, and we'll talk about some of the ones in the chat, give us your quick fire preview.
Look, I agree with both of what you're saying. If I'm gonna be real about it, like I've been really hard on the team the past, I'm gonna say month. I've been rating their performances on. I just strictly been looking towards the FA Cup final, saying if we were playing this performance against City, against the last 4 matches, City would be pumping us 4-5, 6-0. It'll be embarrassing. But again, you got to sometimes take it. It is a cup final. There's a lot on the line. It's at a neutral. It's at Wembley, which we've got a really good record at. It is a 50-50 at the end of the day. Obviously, a betting man's always going to go Manchester City. I've been saying it for the last month. I think Manchester City is going to win the treble still. And, I think a betting man on both finals would be going their way. But it's a game of football. We've beat them once at Old Trafford. They obviously done us well at their home ground. So we're 1-1 this year. In the last 5 years, Ollie done the double, whatever, and we beat them quite a few times playing that pragmatic, hitting them on the break with our pace. Rashford always normally gets on the score. I think it'll be interesting to see if I can see him playing like a Fred, and Fred in that game we won in January, he actually done a really good number on Kevin De Bruyne that they kept him really quiet. I think in that whole game, Haaland had maybe 1 shot on target in that whole game, so the boys done a really good job on him.
He only needs one.
Look, and we've seen what happened in the first game. He scored a hat-trick in the first game, and that's how quick it can be. So I'm thinking this can be a really tight game where it could go either way, or as RJ said, this could be, if there's an early goal for Manchester City, I think this could be an embarrassing scoreline, 3 or 4. So it's really hard. Obviously, I'm a United fan. I'm biased. My heart's saying anything's possible. I seen what happened when you guys a couple of years ago, you guys beat them in the semi-final FA Cup. The same way. Hit them on the break. They were the.
Yeah, but we're the second best team in the league, Robbie.
I'm talking about a couple of years ago when you won the
champions,
FA Cup.
mate.
Well, you got any cup you get is better than nothing. But look,
the same thing for us. Yeah.
Anything can happen. If I'm gonna go in my head, I do think City prevail, whatever it is. I don't want to go to penalties because I just don't want to see that for emotional part. But obviously, my heart says we can get. My heart says we can get a result, mate. We are Manchester United. We know what's on the line. Today, just something else. We've won our last 3 or 4 games in a row. Look, I know they were on the beach kind of for the last one. They had a draw against Brighton. They lost this morning. The rest of the play. Sometimes momentum does make a difference, mate. They didn't play any of their big guns today. That means they're going to have over a week off. We've got our players, he made his big speech after the game. I think everyone's going to be up for it. They have to be up for it. It's a cup final, man. And that could make a good season, a great season for us. So,
stop the treble, Robbie. That's it. Stop the treble.
Right.
That's the motivation.
I've been thinking of that since it's happened, but actually I agree more with what Eric's saying. Like, we got to start thinking, hey, we want to win the cup more than, hey, let's just stop the treble. Because at the end of the season, look, it's going to hurt if they do get the treble, and obviously we don't stop them from being in the final. But for me, we've still had a really good season, even if we do, like, as of right now, we've had a really good season. And we have to look towards our future. If they win the treble, look, good luck to them. They deserve it. They take a seat at the table. They've equaled something we've done. And it's up for question if, obviously people are going to say who done it better, whatever. But they're not, for me, they haven't done anything better than us. They've done something extraordinary, but we're going to look towards our future and concentrate on ourselves. So, look, my heart says we can win this 2-1. My head is obviously going to go with City as the strong favourites.
Just quickly want to touch on a couple of the comments from the chat. George giving you guys 7.5 right now, 9 if you win the FA Cup. I think that's reasonable. One here from Borja. He's been drinking the same juice as me, man. 6.5. Geez. I think that's a bit harsh, but I think I know where he's coming from. Borja wants you guys to be aiming for the big things, and you weren't really ever in the title race.
No, but again,
But
Was that really an
transition-
expectation based on where
No
Manchester
way.
United were
Top
versus
top
everything else?
four.
How can
Top
that
four
be
was the
an
expectation. That's it.
Boys,
It was never going to be an
listen.
expectation.
There's one winner. There's only one winner. All of our teams have had periods of dominance where we have been that winner. We've been the one that's been chased. We need to stop acting like our clubs are small clubs as well. We're all big clubs. We're in a time of transition, Robbie, yes. But the second we start accepting that we're not competing for things or winning things, that's when we stop being big clubs in my eyes, and we're delusional. So
yeah, but it's one thing to accept it, but it's another thing to also face the reality is that you could be a big club that's not in a big club momentum at that time. Like Liverpool and City were the top of the tree based on how Manchester United have performed this season relative to last season. To say anything less than a 7.5, I don't think that reflects reality of where they currently are. So I don't know. To me, that's a very strict standard. That's just not reality. But that's
it's fair enough.
Point of view.
It's fair enough. I guess we'll look at it differently. But for me, I know I've seen it happen with my club more than both of your clubs. When we dropped out of the Champions League, it was a lot of, it's all good. It's transition. We'll bounce back right away next season. We'll sign a few. It's not that easy. All the teams in this league are getting better. You've got genuine threats everywhere. You want to be a big club, you've got to go for the big things. It's not good enough to just fill your stadium each week and spend a lot on transfer fees. You've actually got to be doing it. Like, I'm going to be spewing if next season we, for example, bow out of the Champions League in the group stage. Because what the hell was the point of all this work to get there? We all were celebrating it. Let's go and do something. I want to make a push for it. Minimum, I want to get to the quarterfinals. Minimum. Couple more in here. Tom, Man United standards 7.5, but given the context and the problems faced, 9 out of 10. Justin liked the Ten Hag speech after the game this morning. Yep. Hopefully for you guys, you'll like a trophy even more than a speech. Don't get too caught up on the PR. Don't get too caught up on the PR. You want to win. You want to win. But boys, United, good season. Question in the chat. We have touched on this. Who had a better season, United or Arsenal? Look, George, you don't have to explain it to me. United. United had the better season because we both achieved the same thing, Champions League qualification. You've just got a trophy to go for it and a cup final. You went further than us in the Europa as well. So hard to argue that we had a better season than you when ultimately you've got more rewards. Do either of you disagree, boys? Think Arsenal's had a better season?
No, I agree.
Manchester United's overall finished better. You guys started the better. They've maintained it, and if not, gotten better.
Spot on. I do have those clips, boys, from the previous show. I'm just going to run them back. It's only about 30 seconds worth of clip. Thanks to Borja for sending them, just to see for a bit of a giggle where we ended up. I haven't watched these, so I'm hoping that they're all PG, but if not, we'll be right. Here's one of them.
And come fifth. But as long as the football's there, the foundations are laid for the following season. But to be honest, I think we can creep into the top 4. I think we can get, at the moment, we can get maybe third.
Rob, you've aged, mate. All right, so Borja a bit of a flex there. Just wanted to show that he called third. Let's run the other one. Let me find it here. Bear with me, boys. I think it's this one. Hopefully I'm right.
I don't know. I just want some of those, smiles.
Tell him he's dreaming.
I want to go to wherever he is. But look.
Oh, Robbie. But that's all right. Listen, he's very selectively picked the clips that he sent me. He's done a good job. Boys, some personal highlights from the season. It's been an enjoyable season overall. There's been plenty of action. The quality of football has been good. The league has been exciting. Just give me one or two moments, memories, points that are really going to stand out to you.
You can go first because I don't think
there is no highlight. I've had the worst season ever. I don't know. As soon as you said it's been good, I'm thinking, yeah, really, we've sacked two managers. We had my favourite come back. The Hall guys and got a tune out of them. We're just happy to be operational because we're on the brink of financial collapse. So that's my highlight. But if I'm being serious, as a footballing neutral,
doesn't have to be from your club.
No, but well, the bottom line here is there is no highlight for Chelsea this season, and that's the reality. We didn't get relegated. But in terms of general footballing, what I've seen, again, seeing the likes of Brighton has been super impressive. Their football, the fact that they've been stripped back of some of key players, managers, been able to still step up and play the quality that they have been playing. Even though Arsenal, their arrival, I hate them. It's been good to see that they gave a good fist of it until the last 5 games, of course, and choked hard. And yeah, to be honest with you, it's been exciting from that front. And of course, look, player of the season, Erling Haaland, a lot of raps on their guy, a lot of judgment at the start saying, oh, the Manchester City collectively look worse by having a focal point, but he's gone and answered his critics, tap-in merchant, whatever you want to call him, set the record, and he's on the way to help them achieve a potential treble. And, of course, Harry Kane, again, I hate the team he plays for, but 2 30-goal seasons is something that you have to celebrate amazing. That. That's fantastic effort because, again, the clubs are bottle jobs, and he's done a fantastic job amongst that. So
boys,
that'd be my
I think it's today. Just quick fire this one. Who's had a better season? Haaland on 36 goals playing for Manchester City, or Kane 30 goals in Tottenham? Honestly, I think it's Kane for me.
Nah, Haaland for me. Yeah, I'll just say why though. Haaland because it's his first time adjusting to the toughest league, and not only that, and sometimes I know this sounds weird because Tottenham are a lot worse than City, but sometimes it's better to stand out in a worse team when you haven't got all the other superstars carrying the weight. Look at Jack Grealish done, Alvarez when he's come on, Bernardo Silva. A lot of these players, yes, they help you, but at the same time, it's easy to get lost amongst those other stars around you. So that's why for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
I'm with RJ, but I want to. Who do you think, Robbie? You Kane?
Oh no, I said it. I think Kane's done a really good job, man. He's consistent, but I also see RJ's point, man. First time to the league. Some people said it from the start he would get 30 goals, and I laughed at it. So I think it's amazing what he's done.
I want to ask you then again let's look at Harry Kane, because obviously I'm using him, not Haaland, because he's got that legacy in the Premier League. Where does Harry Kane rank for you amongst the Premier League's best ever strikers, forwards? Is he, because I think he is eventually, I wonder how far he is off the Premier League goal scoring record, Shearer's record.
I think he's getting up to like around 50 to go, 50, 60 maybe.
I think he's going to break that record. Okay, I think he's going to break that record eventually if he's about 40 or 50 away.
And he doesn't join Chelsea, of course. That would be a problem.
Does that make Harry Kane, for example, in the top 3 or even the greatest Premier League striker of all time? If he's got the leading goal scorer record, he's banging him back-to-back 30 seasons, doesn't make him the greatest or top 3, or does he rank elsewhere for you?
I think George is on the money. Top 5 for me. I can name off the top. Van Nistelrooy for me is still in front of him. If you're going to classify Henry, Wayne Rooney, even Henry, if you're going to put him as a striker, I still prefer as an all-rounder. Henry for me is in front of him. Alan Shearer's got the record numbers. When he was playing, like, we were a lot younger, and I never used to get up and just watch Newcastle games, if you know what I mean. So I know we had all the numbers and the records, but obviously I watched mainly United games more when I was younger. But for me, yeah, Thierry Henry, I think he was amazing. Van Nistelrooy was amazing, as you said. Even, Drogba's got big numbers.
Kane's better than Drogba.
Well, he's the big game, but he's more consistent overall. Yeah. But the big game trophy winning strikers, that's right.
I think consistency is a big thing. His numbers every year, man, like 20 every year, man, plus 30 the last back-to-back is pretty amazing for Tottenham in this league consistently is very good. So top 5 for me, definitely.
Yeah, top 5
RJ,
for me.
Top 5 for you? Yeah, look, I'd say that too. I'm not, no chance. For me, no bias at all. Omri is the greatest forward striker to ever play in the Premier League for me. I think if you could only pick one striker from the Premier League in their prime to be your team's striker for the season, you're going to take Omri. I think most football fans would.
I think it just depends on the team you have, because his numbers, like there's certain midfielders that have got more Premier League goals than him. But does that mean they're better? No. But I think it really depends on who the rest of your team is around it. Because I was a big fan of this guy, RVP. I was a huge fan of Van Nistelrooy. And I was a massive fan of, Wayne Rooney. I've said that before. I would have loved to have him on the team. So, yeah, but Henry, he's iconic. There's no doubt about it.
Class. Boys, we've talked Premier League action. We've talked plenty of that. Couple of moments from me maybe that stood out, and then Robbie, if you've got some as well. Obviously, it was before we started that dip, when we had like that 11-point lead, that was a good moment for me. Because that was probably, and I know you boys have seen it, and you know what I'm like. I didn't get carried away. I didn't genuinely say, we're winning it, we're going to be the champions, because I've been burnt too many times. But when we hit that 11-point lead, that was probably when in here I started thinking, shit, you know what? We might actually win this thing. And that bit of excitement comes in, and then football does what it does best. It crushes your heart, soul, spirit, and leaves you broken. So I like that part when we hit that 11-point lead. I would also say another good moment for me was probably watching Martinelli this season. Absolute baller. I didn't feel he was getting given the respect that he deserved early on in the season. A lot of our fans were kind of talking about how he needed to be replaced and this and that. Where for me, Martinelli and Saka are equals in this team. I don't think either does more or less than the other, but Saka seems to get a lot more praise and minutes from the manager. So for me, seeing Martinelli just have what I thought was a really exciting season, that was nice as well. And of course, I was really happy to see Big Harry Suter sign for Leicester. Started okay, and then it kind of just became a little bit oblivious. But no doubt in the championship, he's going to be the perfect kind of defender for them. So we'll see what the future holds for Suits. What about you, Robbie? Any moments before we move to the Champions League?
Moments, if you're going to get moments, look, I think Carabao Cup win was, it wasn't the best game, but just the moment, it was more the monkey off the shoulder, mate. It's been 2017 was our last cup, so to win that, but just that whole day, like the whole going in the city with all the crew, the atmosphere was really good there. So that was a big one. I always keep saying this. I've said it a few times this year. My favorite goal this year was against you guys, the Anthony Open. I don't know what it was. It's just I don't know if it was on debut, but that is seriously my goal of the season for United fan this year. But as a neutral, I honestly
wasn't that goal of the season. Get out of here.
I said goal of the season for United. For United.
It was the best goal, Scott. It was probably the goal of the season, man.
Oh, yeah, for us, for United, that was my goal of the season for United this year. If you look it up, mate, there was like 26 passes lead up and a nice finish on debut against you guys. I don't know, that I love the rivalry against us. But look, as a neutral, as I said, I actually did enjoy teams like your Brighton, man. I really thought a team like Brighton to do what they've done, and in the transition season as well. They went through all the big teams. I think they beat all the big teams at least once this year. And they're a team now that you fear playing. Like when Brighton comes up on the thing now, I'm like, I don't want to play. It's like when City,
some
when
of those
City
players have stepped up, haven't they? Like look at your Matomas,
Honestly.
look at your McAllisters, your Casitos. Like some of these players that frankly didn't get rated by most people have just got something special going on at that club. So I can't praise them enough.
Yeah, fair shout. Boys, we've talked Premier League. We're about to wrap this one up. This will be the last It's a Football thing for this Premier League season. We won't be doing particular shows for the Champions League final or any of that. This is the review show. This is the last one for the season. We are going to end with Manchester City playing who? Who are they playing, RJ? I can't quite remember.
Inter. 14. That's
Inter,
it. The team to save Manchester United's legacy. That's who.
Inter United, mate. We've still got some of the old boys there. Damian's
And
there,
get this
there,
as a plot
Mkhitaryan's
twist. The plot twist: Romelu Lukaku to score a winner for Inter Milan.
Mate.
Can you imagine?
What's your prediction, RJ? What's your quick fire prediction?
Oh, I'm gonna have to go for my heart.
You just
here.
said Lukaku.
Yeah, 2-1 to Inter. I said 95% possession of Man City, double quick counter goal for us.
Tell him
I'm
he's
going to give you
dreaming, Robbie.
the two things. It's going to be 1-0 Inter. It's going to be 4-0 City. And I'm going to lock in both those results. It's going to be one or the other.
Again, I just think City are too good, man. This Pep's going to have sometimes. Oh, you know what Inter have most in their favour? Pep Guardiola. And you probably think, what are you talking about? He's one of the best managers of all time. Sometimes in these big games, Pep can be a bit too clever. He can overthink it a bit too much. Yeah, he can be a bit too clever, I find, with Pep, or he overthinks. If he overthinks and hasn't learned from that mistake, I could see a bit of a smash and grab from Inter. Only takes one header, penalty, free kick, whatever. But I think Pep knows what he's doing. I trust in Pep. I'm going for Manchester City 1-0.
But you know what? You know what as well? Another thing that's going for Inter is Manchester United, because that's going to be a fiery clash. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Manchester City team that's licking their wounds a little bit physically and emotionally. I think that they could really help give Inter a little bit of a helping hand. So that's going to be
How
a really
long is there
interesting
between
one.
the two finals? How many days are there?
It's a week. So it's pretty much a week on a day. Yeah. So we play Saturday night midnight, and then it's pretty much the same thing. Sunday morning is the Champions League final a week later.
But when Casemiro takes out De Bruyne, and there's a few things like that happening, it'll help Inter for sure.
Quick question, boys. Hypothetically, City don't win both finals. How do you rate that season on their behalf?
Which one? That makes a difference.
No. If they don't win both finals, so they just
if they only win a double. If they only win a double.
No. If they only come up with just the Premier League. So if they lose the both finals, so Inter and United win, hypothetically, how do you rate that season for City?
Good question, Scott.
7.5. Ultimately, I know they've won the Premier League, which is the big one. But when you're rating a season, like let's say that it was West Ham that won the Premier League and then lost those two finals, I'm going to say 9 or 10 out of 10 for them because of who they are and where their levels are. But Manchester City,
I'd say 6.5, mate. Yeah.
Look, ultimately, you look at their record, they've still won the Premier League. They still clawed back a big deficit, and they still made those finals. They still made those finals. So there's a lot to be said for their achievements of in that season. But if they win neither, it's hard to go higher than 7.5 because yes, you've won the big one, but there are two other ones that you should have won. And
that's my opposing view there. So. Yes, the Premier League is a measure of more consistency, and therefore the hardest in theory to win because it's there's a lot more things that could go wrong over that period of time. And it was an impressive comeback, so tick. But if they lost both finals when they are dead set odds-on favourites and are much superior squads and have the rest and all of that, to blow both of these now with the expectations that they've got. I think, I couldn't go above a 7. I said 6.5, and I actually would justify that. Like, I just think, I know when it's a final, it's anybody's game, but I also think part of that is only true if you've got a pretty relative equal odds before you go on to that. But they should really smash Inter, and they are really in a better condition than what Manchester United are.
Should they, though? It's a Champions League final. It's a Champions League final. You're not in that final.
If they were playing that as a normal week, as just a normal fixture in a Premier League, Inter versus thing, 1 million people 100% will go City. City's the best team in the world.
Yeah,
Everyone said
I'm
100
not
times.
saying
And
They've got
the
best
pathway
manager in the
too.
world.
And it's the
They've got
pathway
City
they've
are
got to
the
the Champions
favourites.
League final. Yeah.
City are the
favourites.
favourites. Of
You're
course
just
they
paying
are.
like
But
$7 to even
you're
get a
talking
draw.
into
Like,
down like they're a pub team. They're not a pub team, man. You can't have both sides of the argument. I've heard plenty of talk. How good's the Serie A? The Serie A's on the way up. It's this and that in the finals.
Yeah.
And then when they get to the final, talk them down as if they're, some local.
But it's
pub
relative,
team.
isn't it? But it's
They're a
relative
big
because
team, big club.
they beat Bayern Munich, who've just won their 11th straight Bundesliga. They've also beat the defending champions, Real Madrid, but beat them. Inter Milan beat a very substandard AC Milan to get there, and also Benfica. The pathway to get there, City, based on who they've beaten to get there, Inter Milan are by far the inferior team compared to those, and Inter is my team. So I think if they were to bottle both of those finals, that leaves a very sour taste if I'm a City fan. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. It's a good question. It is a good question.
What would you rate their season?
7, yeah. I couldn't go higher than a 7 for that. Like I said, they buckled against Southampton in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup as well. A lot of people forget that of their quality. They've made the finals. Again, the Premier League, you have to just hand them a clap. They've done the 3-peat, which is amazing as well. They've clawed back the thing, so that's massive ticks on the Premier League front, which is their bread and butter at the moment. They're just flying through. But mate, we've seen what happened with Chelsea done with him in the Champions League final. Anything can happen. Like, they were superior favourites in that final too, and they lost 1-0. So just because they're not anyone can in a 90-minute game of football, anything can happen. So look, I'm still on hard favourites for the treble. I think it'll be a bottle drop on their behalf if they stuff that up. But look, 2 other quick ones, boys. I know they're quick fires. Roma and Sevilla. Who's going to win?
Roma for me.
Roma.
I want Roma to win.
Mourinho, the special one.
And West Ham Fiorentina, I think, is actually going to be a good final. I'll definitely watch this one. Honestly, I think I think West Ham will win, but I think it'll be closer than you think. Well, Fiorentina have got actually quite a few good players in the team as well. So interesting final there.
We'll have to look at whoever's got the most Croatians.
Yeah.
I did like this. I saw this on Born Offside as well the other day. The Croatian theory.
Yeah.
Saying that
was Brozovic for Inter. Brozovic.
Yeah, but he might not start. He might not start though.
He's still in the squad. Is there any other Crows in there, or is it just Brozovic?
I don't think so.
No, Perisic left now. So yeah,
Perisic left. So
He's Spurs, mate. His career's done. What was your last one, Robbie?
And I would go for West Ham. I would pick them as well. Declan Rice, just to light up the internet a little bit.
David Moyes, West Ham. I think they've got quality players in that team, and they've had a really good run in that league. That's the only thing that's nice about that conference league. Those kind of teams, it's for us, it's a nothing league, but for them, it's something special. So I'll definitely watch that game as well.
I'd take a conference league final. I'd take one right about now. Mate,
I
love it.
I wouldn't.
We've got nothing. We're done. We're finished. We won the best looking new kid.
The best
already.
part
You're just talking about being a big club, Scott, and then you say I'll take a conference league final.
The best part about this season, I
way.
was going to say, the best part about this season is that Chelsea and Arsenal have the same amount of trophies to show for our great success this season.
Yeah, but you've also spent $600 million in January, signed garbage players. You're in financial trouble, and you didn't make any.
Here we go.
Super Frank, super.
Actually, I've got to ask you. I know we're dragging this out, but what did you make? I'm not going to ask RJ because what he's going to say is going to be stupid on this question. Robbie, did you see their fans singing Super Frank to him at the end of the season when they were being talked about as being mathematically in a relegation battle at one point? What the hell did you make of that? What a symbol of where Chelsea are. Singing Super Frank to the worst statistical manager in your history.
Look, we can exclude RJ from this because he's loyal.
We are going to.
These are the same fans that I've seen hammer him since he got appointed for the second tender. Every week, get him out. What's he doing? He's got no idea. And then he leaves. Look, good luck to him. He's a club legend, but as a manager, he was shit. You can't say nothing more than that. For Everton, for Everton and Chelsea, and look, you can't just put all the blame on him because the team has been shocking all season. But I just thought it was hypocritical of the fans that have been hammering him to sing Super Frank Lampard. But we can't say nothing with RJ because he's loyal to the day.
But we don't know that. The ones that were there, were the ones that attended the game. The ones that sit on the couch from afar were the ones that are putting crap on him.
I haven't seen
You've
him
got to
sing
think,
Super Frankie Lampard during the season when they were losing every week. That's what I'm saying.
what do you mean? Like, but when they were there in away games, they had it against United. They had it a few times when they actually showed, but this was their last game at Stamford Bridge because he never got a fair look
makes sense.
as a player.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
as
'cause
a
he got
coach.
sacked.
But
And he
what
left
do
the
you mean?
team
As
as
manager,
That's why I never
yeah,
got
but it
a
was during
fair word.
COVID time. It was during COVID time. No, but I was going to
Was
say,
it? Yeah, it was COVID.
yeah, remember? But what I was going to say is he
Something
came back and
ridiculous.
disappointed, right? It was disappointing, but like you said, they were disappointing the whole season from Tuchel to Potter to him. They just got worse the whole time. And I really think, like I listened to his interviews and stuff afterwards, Pochettino, they've got a lot of work to do in terms of just clearing out the deadwood. Like I was going through the names, and then you've got players like Nkuku coming in, Malo Gusto coming in, Levi Colwill, who you don't know, but if he comes back, will make a difference. They've just got so many players on their books now. Like you said, Scott, they spend all this money for like these long contracts, haven't fired on any cylinders, not all cylinders. They just need to get the blowtorch and just get rid of these players because they're just simply not good enough. And that's Bowley and co. showing their amateurish experience to just think they have all the answers to rather than take their time to get it right. So they deserve what they get, but that's the biggest job. Not buying anybody, getting rid of the deadwood. And that's all I'll say on that.
I'm not going to say anything else on those Chelsea fans. I think enough has been said. On that note, boys, it's been an enjoyable season. It's been a pleasure to all the people that have been tuning in throughout the season that joined in the FPL comp. We should congratulate our FPL comp winner. I'll bring that up. To all those who joined in the season, have subscribed to the channel, we thank you very, very much. It's been an absolute blast. Robbie, you got any closing words, mate, while I bring up the name of our winner?
Oh, look, I think you touched on everything really nice there. Look, personally, I want to thank everyone as well, and I want to thank my two fellow co-hosts, you guys as well, always putting in the hard yards, especially the two boys. They always do all the social stuff. They do all the computing stuff that I've got no with the IT, but I just turn up and try and look pretty and do something. But look, both the boys, I just want to say thank you as well, mate, because I love tuning in every week and seeing your faces and talking football with my best mates.
Beautiful. And before RJ gives his final thoughts, Chin Hoang finished top of the league with 2,514 points. I was in second place with 2,464. So close. But unfortunately, just like Arsenal, bottled it late on. RJ, going to give you the final words before we run the outro.
Look, it's been a long season, boys. Let's call it for what it is. There's been the World Cup. There's been a lot of competitions, a lot of ups and downs. But you know what? The roller coaster it was, like Robbie said, free mates, loving football, talking about it with all of our fans and supporters. We do thank you. We appreciate it. It doesn't go unnoticed. But we do this because we love the beautiful game. And at the end of the day, it's a football thing.
That's it. And make sure you check out Tom's channel, Borch's channel, any of the boys, a lot of the boys in the chat, Marty, have channels. Make sure you check them out because I know they'll be pumping the content for those games coming up and all of that. So check them out, show some love. But until then, take care. Enjoy yourself, everyone. See you later.
Yeah.